I'm just trying to represent the industry side of things
Sure.
for asking these questions. Bill Gates is promoting taxation on automation because when something gets automated, there are some jobs which were supposed to be done by a human are done by a machine now, which means there is no salary, which means there is no taxation.
No payroll tax, yep.
So what are your views, like your personal views on this particular issue of taxation on automation?
Well, let's make news at your conference. I'd like to announce that Labor will be endorsing a robot. No, we will.
A robot tax.
I just watch it. He was like, no, Paul. There are two features of the debate around automation, Mohit, that I think reflect a sense of when you've given up all hope of having a positive and planned approach to these things, then you reach for these levers. One is robot tax, and the other is UBI, or Universal Basic Income, right? Whenever I talk to people, groups of people about this, they always go, well, we might need a universal basic income. Yeah, we will. If unemployment goes through the roof and we haven't prepared for what is coming, then yeah, we absolutely will. In a system that is one of the most targeted welfare systems on the planet, and where we are actively trying to reconsider how we deal with things like lifting New Start, this is not an easy area to deal with, and the integration of a concept like UBI with that type of welfare system will be a challenge in itself. I would rather us think ahead about what is the likelihood of this change impacting various sections of our labour market, and how do we prepare for that. And if I can say, and I think the robot tax, if anything is useful about it, it does focus the mind on what happens if we just let this run rampant and we haven't prepared, where there will be calls on government because of impacts on declining revenue to make up the revenue somewhere else. And we do need to think about it. The other challenge, I think, if I can say this to the business community, is not to look at automation and that these things in the preparing element that I touched on. This whole concept that future of work issues will be just dealt with by pulling a folder, a training package off the shelf and then rolling it out. I don't think that necessarily is going to be a helpful concept. This is going to challenge the way in which the employment arrangements within a firm are structured. The commitment that is made to employees, and by employment arrangements I mean the offering that's provided. Jennifer Hewitt in the Fin Review recently said all the views that future of work issues would decimate employment are wrong, because if you look at employment in most advanced economies, it's going down. Okay, but that's not the only measure of what's going on. Look at the experience of underemployment, where people feel that the type of job that they have is not as secure as they'd like, or not paying as much as they'd like. Wages being stagnant. People wanting more full-time work, not just being offered part-time and casual. There is another dimension to this that needs to be considered, and it will, and I don't for 1 minute think this is not difficult for business to deal with, but I think this is where one of these pressures will emerge about how business structures in response to automation and the employment offering that's provided. Or we will get more calls for robot tax, and we will get more calls for universal basic income to respond.